Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. We got some news to discuss today. The Las Vegas Raiders have a visitor. His name is Jaylon Smith, former Dallas Cowboys linebacker. So not only are we going to talk about Smith, but we're actually also going to talk about a tight end that the Raiders ended up signing near the end of today's video. Now, probably the reason why you clicked on this show is Jaylon Smith. He's a big-time name, and he's a name that we have discussed here before on the Raiders Report. When you talk about Smith, a lot of people look at when he first came out of Notre Dame, and unfortunately for him, suffered a really wicked type of knee injury, which hurt his ability to be that top-notch linebacker. But the reason why I'm very intrigued by this visit is because the Raiders, obviously, they signed a linebacker earlier this week. There's been some question marks around Divine Deablo, but what does this organization and what does this coaching staff love? Relationships. And you can make an argument that one of the best seasons that Smith had, I'll say in the last 2 years, if you will, was back in 2021 with, guess who is his defensive coordinator? Patrick Graham. So if the Raiders are looking for somebody that might have to fill in for Divine Deablo because that injury is still undisclosed since he's wearing that green dot, I could see this organization looking at a linebacker like Smith, who had 88 tackles last season, to be somebody that could be that player coach in the month of August and maybe even in the regular season. So if this is maybe the first time you've ever tuned into the Raiders Report, we are an interactive YouTube channel, and I want to know what you guys have to say. In fact, this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So every single one of y'all that watched today's episode, I want you to comment on this. Should the Raiders sign Jaylon Smith? I want you to type your Y for yes, or I want you to type your N for no. My answer to Jaylon Smith is yes. I do think that he would be a good fit with Patrick Graham. I know that the Raiders and Raider Nation for a long time have been looking for another linebacker that they could throw in and add even more competition to, because that's what Smith is going to be able to do for you. He's going to be able to add some competition, and the numbers are impressive, right? And I'll always say, when I talk about linebackers, I want somebody that can cover. And realistically, Jaylon Smith isn't the best coverage linebacker. In fact, it's probably one of his weaknesses to his game. And that's why you're looking at some of these tackle numbers that are a lot higher than some of the other years. But 88 tackles last season. He had a sack, 3 tackles for loss in 13 games played. In 2021, though, that's a really important year because that was the year he was with Patrick Graham, with the New York Giants, in a season that he was right around 250 snaps. The big numbers around 2020 and 2019 when he was the middle linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. But at that point in that defense, he was really only a run stopper. So Jaylon Smith is a player that I know when he first came out of college, coaching staff ranted and raved about as being a captain, being a leader. And when you have the captain ability, when you have the leadership skills, when you have the relationship that he does with Patrick Graham, and then you add the competition element to it, that is the recipe for what this Raiders team is looking for at training camp today. So when you look at the Raiders linebacker depth chart, if Divine is out, I don't know what it is. I don't know why he's not out there. However, Divine Deablo is a player that this organization was really counting on. They drafted Amari Burney. The UDFA Drake Thomas has been impressive. I know that this staff likes Robert Spillane. He's a hard-nosed football player. Luke Masterson is another guy who was a UDFA last season that's really starting to come into his own. But this linebacker room is up for grabs. And if you add a player like Jaylon Smith, I'm telling y'all right now, he is a legit shot to compete for a 53-man roster spot. Now, before I tell y'all a little bit more about Jaylon, and then the way that I want to end this show is tell you about a potential O.J. Howard replacement, because the Raiders did go out and they signed a tight end today. If you think that Chargers fans, Broncos fans, and Chiefs fans all eat corn the long way, no butter, go to chatsports.com/corn. I also have those shirts available for you guys down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. Sizes from, I want to say, extra small all the way up to like 3XL or 4XL. So maybe if you're I don't know, also eating some corn, plenty of it, you can also fit in these bad boys as well. Shout out to the nation for always repping here with me, chatsports.com/corn. So I knew as soon as I got the update from Jordan Schultz that the Raiders had a visitor, and it was a big-name guy like Jaylon Smith. On top of that, the fact that it's a linebacker, I know exactly where the nation was going to go mentally. What exactly is going on with Divine Deablo? Like, that's where my light bulb went. Because Deablo is going to be a mix and a match between middle linebacker, and Patrick Graham might decide to run a 5-2 type of front. They might run a 4-2-5. There's going to be opportunities out there on the field where the linebackers are, there's only going to be two out there. I'm telling you all that flat out right now. And if this team is concerned about Deablo, then it doesn't surprise me whatsoever that you bring in a Jaylon Smith. Now, I know some of y'all want to see some PFF numbers, so I had the courtesy. I pulled him up for all y'all. But in 2021, okay, this is when he was with Patrick Graham, 66.3 overall PFF grade. I laugh because I sit up here and I'm going to tell y'all, he's a run stopper. He's not somebody you want in coverage. He's got this knee issue now, and he's not as good sideline to sideline. You need someone to make a tackle, he'll do it. Sideline to sideline, not his thing. I say that, though, and I laugh because according to PFF in 2021, Jaylon Smith had an 80.8 coverage grade, a pass rush grade of 63.9, and a run defense grade of 40.4. In 2022, Smith, a 56.0 overall grade, a run defense grade of 62.7, a pass rush grade of 72.0, and then a coverage grade of 44.9. At the end of the day, I want guys that know this system, that can be a veteran, where some of these younger players can look at him, and he's going to bring some competition. We'll still try to figure out what the latest is on Deablo. Maybe McDaniels and maybe this coaching staff provides an update on it, but unfortunately, I don't have it for you guys right now. Now, the way that I want to end today's show is another move that ended up going down. And hey, if you missed yesterday's videos around all the moves that the Raiders made, they cut 3 guys, they added, re-signed, added 2. I mean, a lot of roster movement yesterday. But the other move that ended up going down today, and I laugh because according to Sean Reed, that the Raiders have signed tight end Jacob Hollister to try to replace O.J. Howard. So with that addition, that's an important addition because now the Raiders are exactly at 91 players on their roster. They're allowed to have 91 because of the international pathway player. So if they wanted to add a Jaylon Smith, if they wanted to add another big-name free agent, they would have to move on from a player in order to do it. Hollister is somebody that has been on this Raiders roster before, but it was more back with the Gruden regime. However, Hollister also was a member at times in New England, so there's that relationship yet again. If the Silver and Black do anything else today, I will do my best to keep you guys up to date. Other players in terms of updates that I'm getting right now, Tyree Wilson's getting closer and closer to getting back. Sounds like Neil Farrell Jr., Byron Young kind of in the same camp there. Running back Austin Walter, he's not practicing today. Obviously, Jacobs isn't there. And if you haven't seen the latest on Jacobs, go check out the video that I put out yesterday. And then Brandon Facyson, really good news here. He was carted off the field yesterday with a lower leg injury, and we don't really have a timetable. However, Josh McDaniels said that he considered it to be not serious. So the fact that I saw non-contact, carted off the field type of injury, and then Brandon Facyson is not considered to be serious, I do think that's a good thing. If we get any more updates here around the Silver and Black, you already know where to come find me. And if the Raiders do end up signing Jaylon Smith, I can promise you one thing. I'm going to be going live here on the Raiders Reports. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you got those notifications turned on. And you know what? I'm going to do something that our producer doesn't know. Swing up here real quick. So Jeremy Chuggs is on vacation. And because all y'all go wild all the time, I got to get a brand new producer here. And here's the thing. It's his very first Raiders Report show. I'm serious. Get up here right now. Let's do it. Everybody, down in the comments right now, show some love to Smitty. His first produced Raiders Report show. And if it wasn't for him, I would have had to do this by myself. So if you guys could, show some love to Smitty down in the comments. I'll see all y'all later. And remember, if Jaylon Smith ends up signing, we're going to be live here on the Raiders Report. You and me? Yes, sir. All right, don't let us down. We'll see you here in a little bit. Trace, click that button.